Hey there, how are you doing? Welcome to my channel, Naga Konada's Dev Tips. In this video, we're going to see how we can build the component that actually takes care of timing out the session. Alright, here we are. As you might have seen in the previous video, there is an index.html file and it has a bunch of content, and there is a JS file. This idle timeout is the component that we are going to build. So this idle timeout is coming from timeout.js file. I've included that timeout.js just above the index.js file. And also in the CSS file, I've imported a couple of Google fonts. So let's fire up this HTTP server. Okay, as you can see, we're at localhost 8080, and this is the website. And these are the fonts coming from Google. Okay, let's start coding the component. Let's get rid of this terminal now. For starters, let's console log, and let's say constructor instantiated. And if I refresh, I can see the constructor instantiated. All right, so since we are using the constructor pattern, we can add methods and properties to the this variable inside the constructor. So I can say this dot abcd, and I can add something, and this variable is available outside in the timer as well, and also in any of the prototype functions that we are going to add later on. Okay, so this is the pattern that we're going to use, and it is called constructor pattern. As you can see, I've added two parameters here. One is the timeout seconds, which is the number of seconds after which the session has to time out. The other one is options, which is an object that we are going to take from wherever it is being called. And this options object can have any number of customizable options that we are going to use in order to customize this component. All right, let's get rid of the console log and add these parameters to this object. All right, let's use this notation to actually pass those timeout and options parameters. So for timeout, I would set it as 5 seconds, and the options object, I will just put a new object. One of the main options is going to be a callback function. So I'll call it callback, and it's going to be a function. And I'll say console.log callback triggered. Okay, just so that we know that the callback actually got triggered. And this callback actually has to happen once the timeout happens. And that callback can have any customizable scenario. Probably you would like the user to go back to the login page. So the callback will actually take care of firing a query to the backend, invalidating the session in the backend, and then maybe changing the window.location.href to the login page after invalidating the session in the front end as well. So all of that invalidation can happen in that callback, which is totally customizable because this is a function that we are passing to the timeout from the options object. Okay, there might be situations where it is best approach to have a set of default parameters which we can then merge with the options or parameters that are sent through the constructor function, and then we will have the merged object assigned to all the parameters over here. All right, so what I'm going to do is, let's assume the timeout seconds is a mandatory parameter, and if it is not sent, this is not going to work. But the options object can have many properties which can be optional. So we're going to have default options. So I'll say var default options equals to an object, and the callback can be an empty function. Okay, so it's not going to do anything, it's just going to return. One property can be alert timeout seconds, which is 10 seconds. What is alert timeout is when the alert that the session is going to time out is going to come up in front of the user in the web page. So if the timeout seconds is 600 seconds, that is, you want the session to invalidate within 600 seconds after the user has become inactive, but you don't want to show up the alert right from the beginning. Maybe you just want to show up the alert in the last few seconds, maybe 10 or last 20 seconds. If that is the case, you can use this alert timeout seconds variable to handle that particular functionality. So Now in the this dot options, I'm going to merge both these options that are sent across and the default options. So any missing values in the options object are going to be covered up by the default options. We can use the object.assign, which is a built-in method or function, and this is only available in the ES6 version, so be careful. Just use a polyfill if you don't have that. So we will use an empty object, and then default options, we'll say options first, and then default options, so that options will be replaced by default options and not the default options by options. Either way is fine, by the way. So the return value of this one is going to be the options object, which has all the required properties that we are expecting. Okay, enough with the constructor. Let's add some prototypal functions or methods that we can use for our functionality. One is going to be the start timer. So I'm going to say idle timeout dot prototype dot start timer. So this is actually the function that is going to kickstart the timer, and in this method we're going to set timeout to trigger the timer, and there will be a function which we will write in a moment, and a number of milliseconds is the second parameter. So this is going to be this dot timeout seconds, and to convert dot to milliseconds, that's what we're going to use. In the first parameter, we're going to pass a function which is also a property of the prototype, and I'm going to call that on timer done. I'll simply say timer completed, and I'm going to use this dot on time done to actually trigger that. So the last thing to do here is to start the timer. So I'm going to use this dot start timer in the constructor function. So as soon as we call this new with these options, what it's going to do is it's going to merge those options to the default options. It's going to assign timeout seconds. The first variable is going to go there, parameter, and then the options object is going to get merged, and then it'll start the timer, which is going to set timeout, and then for those many milliseconds, and then the on timer done is going to just console log timer completed, and we've given 5 seconds here. So after 5 seconds, we need to see this timer completed method. So if I go here and do a refresh, after 5 seconds you can see timer completed. But this is not what we wanted. We wanted the callback to be called after 5 seconds or after the timeout happened. So we'll delete that and we'll say this dot options. Remember, we passed that as a property to the options object, and we'll say callback, and that is actually going to trigger the callback. We'll just see, we'll just refresh and see. Within 5 seconds, we need to see that callback. But as you can see, it has thrown an error. Cannot read property callback of undefined. This is because of a tricky situation here. The situation is because of the timeout. By the time this function gets invoked over here, the context of this has changed. So that this on line 20 is no longer pointing to the idle timeout, but it's pointing to the this of the set timeout, which is nothing but the window object. So in order to make sure that that this in this idle timeout on timer done to be pointing to idle timeout, we have to bind it to that exact thing again. So we can do that over here on line 16. I can say bind of this. So this over here is going to point to idle timeout because we're calling that inside this. So the context is still inside that, and then we're binding that to the this of the on timer done function, no matter when it is called. So it is actually going to take that idle timeout for the this keyword. Oh, actually one more thing we forgot is that the options object has to come after the default object. Otherwise, the callback is getting overwritten with whatever we have over here. So we'll just try one more time. And within 5 seconds, we see this callback triggered, which means that the loop is complete. So we're calling that, and after 5 seconds, we're getting this. Okay, the next thing we have to do is think about when the user comes back to the page before the timeout happens. So it's in between, it's in the middle, and the user has come back, realized that they did not finish their job in this page, so they came back to work on it. What we would expect to happen is that the timer has to reset every time the user does some activity over there within that time period. But after the timeout happened, we have to we're anyways calling the callback, and it's going to take the user out of that page, maybe into the login screen or a session timeout maintenance screen. So we don't have to bother about that. But as long as the timeout is happening, if the user comes back and there is an activity registered, a mouse move or a click or a wheel scroll or a touch on the touch screen, any of those events, if they happen, the timeout has to be reset and it has to start again. As long as the user is active, the timeout has to reset again and again. So that is what we are going to achieve over here. So in order to do that, we have to listen to the user's activity. So we have to bind that listener in the constructor itself. Just after the options, we're going to say window.add event listener. Let's start with mouse move, and we'll come to how to handle multiple activities. So we'll say mouse move, and then I'm going to add a listener. But for fun, we're going to add that as a prototypal method. So I'll say idle timeout dot prototype dot activity listener function, and then I will say I have to clear the timeout and I have to start the timer again. So let's come back to that, but let's add this one over here using the this keyword. As and when the user moves the mouse, this is going to get triggered. And what we want to do here is we have to stop the timer and start the timer again. The starting of the portion is over here in the start timer section, but we have to add a clear timer method as well, which we will do now. Prototype.clear timer. So in this, we have to clear the timer, which is set over here. We need to somehow point to that one to clear it using the clear timeout method, which is built in. So in order to do this, we have to capture this in a variable which is accessible in all the prototypal functions. So it has to be part of the this object. So I will say timeout ref. Okay, so initially I have to set this to something, so I'll just set this to null so that it will not throw any errors when I accidentally try to access it. And then I'm going to send the same thing over to this. So the set timeout is going to send a reference, and that reference we're going to use to clear timeout. And then we're going to do these two things inside the activity listener. Because those are two things, let's just give another function or another prototype that says idle timeout dot prototype dot reset timer, which is going to do both these things. This dot clear timer and then this dot start timer. So this is a convenience method which we can use to do both these things. So that is what I'm going to call in the activity listener. So what happens when the user moves the mouse is this activity listener is going to get called, and the this dot reset timer is going to get called, and the clear timer is going to get called, and the timeout will be cleared, and then the start timer gets called, and the timeout is again going to be added. And the other thing we need to make sure is that the activity listener is getting bound to an event which is asynchronous. It can happen outside the context of idle timeout, so we need to bind that so that we can access idle timeout's properties and methods. So I'll say bind of this, so that when I do this dot reset timer in the activity listener, so that this is going to point to idle timeout. Okay, I just refreshed the window, and within 5 seconds the callback got triggered, but when I moved the mouse, the timeout got reset and the callback triggered again. So as long as I'm moving the mouse, the timeout is getting reset. But ideally that is not what we want. We want the timeout to end or not to re-trigger after the callback is done. So the callback is happening over here. So after this, we have to make sure that this listener is no longer listening to the mouse move event. So what we have to do is copy this over to on timer done, and then we have to do remove. And this second parameter is going to, it has to point to the same function that we provided during the add event listener. If you observe, the bind is going to return a new function every time we call that. So we need to have a pointer to this bind event somewhere. So we can point to that over here. I'm going to say listener activities listener ref and point to that, and I'm going to give that over here as well as over here. so that that reference always points to a single function. Okay, now if I refresh the window and mouse over and move the mouse, it's not going to show any callback because it is doing its stuff and preventing that callback to be called. But if I stop moving the mouse within 5 seconds, it is going to trigger the callback. You can see, and if I move the mouse again and stop it for 5 seconds, as you can see, it's not going to trigger the callback, which is what we want. The timer has ended and the task is accomplished. Okay, so at this point, we have done a complete loop of the functionality. The only couple of things that are pending are we have to listen to multiple events, not just a mouse move. There are many other events that we can consider as user activity, like clicking on some links or anywhere on the page, or moving the screen or the page using the touches on a touch screen or in a mobile. It can be something like a wheel scroll of the mouse or any such scenarios. So we have to deal with that. So instead of listening to a single event, we have to listen to multiple events. And the other thing is we just do not want the callback to be called. We also want to show the user an alert, like we mentioned earlier, maybe 10 or 20 seconds before the timeout happens, so that the user is aware. Maybe the user is not looking at the monitor and doing something else, and the user suddenly sees the monitor and sees the alert. They will try to prevent the timeout by doing one of these events, which will actually re-trigger the timeout. So we will have to write that code to show the pop-up, and the pop-up also can change colors, maybe from green to red as soon as the it reaches the last 10 or 5 seconds, so that it'll be a louder alert. And then once the user shows some activity by mouse move or something else, the pop-up or the message has to be hidden. So those two functionalities, we're going to look at them in the next video. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Please do like this video, comment and share your thoughts, and do subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you can get notified when I release the new content. Great having you here, and see you in the next one. Take care.